Today we're going to be going over 10 mistakes that first-time football players will make. Now, mistake number 1 is going to be not training with pads on, getting ready for this upcoming season. So we're in the summer months when I'm filming this video, and in June, July, getting ready for August practice, when the pads come on, if you're not training with pads, you're not putting yourself in a game-realistic situation. I know for all my quarterbacks and all my wide receivers, as soon as July 1st rolls around, I'm telling them to bring their helmet, bring their pads out, so we could start doing some actual contact type drills to get you ready for the actual football season, because we play a contact and a violent sport. But if you're just that guy who's t-shirt and shorts, and again, this is for your first year. After your first year of tackle, you feel like you're used to it, then yeah, maybe you don't got to start training with pads. I still recommend it, but guys, you have to get comfortable doing football movements, routes, releases, throws, whatever position you play in full pads and in full helmet gear. Now, the second mistake that new first-time football players will make is comparing themselves to other players. And I think that's honestly like probably the biggest mistake that guys will make, is because, like, think about it. Let's say you're like an 8th grader, and this doesn't need to be your exact situation. It could be anybody's situation. But let's say you're an 8th grader and it's your first time playing football. You're going to be on a team with guys who are playing football, tackle football most likely, from the time that they were in like 2nd grade. Or even let's say you were a guy who from 2nd grade to 8th grade played flag football, and now your last year before high school, you're playing tackle football, right? But you're new. These guys have played tackle football for years. So if you're sitting there and you're comparing yourselves to them, like, man, he's really good, I'm not that good, he's good at this, I'm not good at that, that's distracting you from the task at hand. At the end of the day, what matters the most is high school football. So if you're leading up to high school football, your primary focus should be getting better. If you're new and in high school football, your first time playing, again, it's a long 4 years, fellas. You have a lot of time where you're a senior, and then maybe you could start getting recruited to play at a college or whatever the case is. So don't waste time comparing yourself to other players. Understand that you're new to the game. Understand that there are areas that you need to improve in that these other guys may have down, and approach it with an open mind and a willingness to learn, so you guys can actually improve your skills. And you'll be surprised at how fast you're going to improve and be able to catch up to those players if you don't waste time comparing yourself. Now, also, fellas, if you are a football player and you guys would like to gain weight this summer, this offseason, or even during the season, because a lot of players will lose weight during the season because their diet is not on point, check out that very first link in the description below for our AG Labs Whey Protein Powder. Guys, to be able to help you put on weight in the offseason, you want to try to consume, or even during the season, 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight, or maintenance weight. So let's say it's during the football season, you're 150 pounds and you want to stay at 150, you got to consume 150 grams of protein a day, and that's tough to do without a protein powder. So if you guys would like a great protein powder specifically made for athletes, very easy on your stomach, very light, very easy to take after the gym, before practice, again, check out that very first link in the description below for our AG Labs Whey Protein Powder. If you use the promo code FIRST15, FIRST15 at checkout, you get 15% off our whey protein powder. Now, mistake number 3 is going to be making the same mistake twice. So by mistake, I mean like a physical mistake on the field. Guys, everybody screws up. And if you're a first-time football player and at practice you're maybe nervous about a play, or like nervous about doing something wrong because all these coaches are going to rip me a new one, like, guys, don't worry about it. Just don't make the same mistake twice. So let's say you're running a route. Like, let's say you're a receiver and you run a route incorrectly, and a coach gets on you and he coaches you up about something, and then on the next rep, you do the exact same thing wrong again. That's a very easy way to piss a coach off. Now, I'm one of those guys that likes to hold coaches accountable. I think if an athlete's not getting something as a coach, and he's really trying to get something, I think as a coach, you need to change up the way you're coaching the athlete, change the verbiage, change the way you're approaching it, maybe change the way you're talking to the athlete. But some coaches don't think that way. Some coaches are very old school, and if you keep making that same mistake over and over and over again, very easy to piss him off and get on his bad side. So make sure, guys, you make a mistake, don't be afraid to, but move on and make sure you don't do it again. Mistake number 4 that everybody makes, guys, I'm telling you this right now, don't be this guy. Don't take the conditioning lightly. Make sure you show up in shape, because during like that first week of football, what did they, I don't even know if they're legally allowed to call it this now, but they used to call it Hell Week. Maybe they still call it Hell Week, but they call it Hell Week because tough, man. It's hot outside, you're practicing, sometimes you're in full gear, and you usually do a lot of conditioning during that period because coaches need to get their guys in shape. You don't want to be in that Hell Week like period, having to catch up to everybody and get in shape. That Hell Week shouldn't be for you. It should be a walk in the park. So you need to show up to summer football in shape. So in this like last month leading up to it, June, July, you should be working out, doing some type of conditioning workout at least 2 to 3 times a week where you're focusing on sprint. It's like a sprint focused conditioning workout, not just jogging laps around a track, because that's not the type of conditioning you'll do. You need to be running sprints, giving yourself rest in between each sprint so you could actually be in football shape. Now, the next mistake that players will make, especially after their first day of practice, because this goes for anybody. I don't care how good a shape you're in. You go into summer football, it's August 1st, you get the pads on, whatever, you're gonna be sore the next day, right? It's a hard football practice. You're out in the sun, you're probably a little dehydrated, so that brings me to my point. Make sure you're hydrating the night before, not the day of. So I'm telling, like, because cramps, one of the worst things that you'll experience as a player, especially if it happens to you on the field. And it's from a lack of hydration, you guys. Maybe not just drinking water, maybe put a little electrolyte powder within your water so you could hydrate yourself properly the night before. So let's say your practice is from like 8 a.m. all the way till noon, right? It's like a 4-hour practice. You got a lift in there, you got conditioning, you got actual practice. You get home, and as soon as you get home from noon all the way till when you go to bed at, like, let's say 9 p.m., 10 p.m., whenever it is, guys, you should be hydrating. You should be drinking a gallon of water after practice that day so you don't cramp up on the field. You're taking care of yourself for the next practice. So don't be that guy that doesn't drink any water. You go to the beach with your friends and you hang out, and then you're dehydrated, then you show up to practice and you can't physically perform because you're cramping up. Now, mistake number 6 that a lot of first-time football players will make is being nervous. Guys, there's nothing to worry about. Like, at the end of the day, if you're worried about, you know, like maybe contact, getting hit, maybe you're a little anxious, maybe you're a flag football guy that's transitioning into tackle, guys, it's honestly gonna be fine. Like, like there's so many safety precautions nowadays. It's not like the old school days of doing Oklahoma drills and guys are cracking helmets together. Like, coaches are much, much safer with the practices that they do. They emphasize tackle, at least they should. I shouldn't speak for everybody, but at least where I'm from, there's a bigger emphasis or a heavier emphasis on tackling form and all those things. And if you're really like nervous, like, am I gonna be able to take a hit? I don't know how I'm gonna do with that. You'll know within the first hit that you take if it's for you or if it's not for you. So if you get hit and you're just completely like a fish out of water, then it may not be for you. But if you love football and you get hit, you'll probably actually like the contact and you'll be over it as soon as you take that hit. So if you're going into your first practice, I recommend getting that out of the way as soon as possible so you can focus on the skills and what matters. But guys, don't be nervous if it's your first season. Now also, fellas, if you are a quarterback or a wide receiver, we are going to be coming out to 15 different states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps in 2025. So if you guys would like to sign up to be able to work with myself and my staff of coaches, check out that very first link in the description below. We're going to be coming out to San Francisco, California, Orlando, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Seattle, Washington, Las Vegas, Nevada, Newark, New Jersey, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So guys, if you want to sign up, all of our camps sold out insanely fast last year. That's why we're announcing this now. Check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you there. Now, mistake number 7, you guys, is not training during the season. I think you see a lot of athletes have this immense drop off in their skills, because think about it. Let's say like January 1, like January 1st was like when you started off-season training. Maybe you were working out with like a private coach, maybe you saw him twice a week, you were going to the gym consistently, whatever the case may be, all the way up until like August 1st. And then a lot of guys, as soon as August 1st rolls around, they're done. They just go to practice and then they go home. They go to practice, they go home. They don't lift, they don't train, they don't do any of that stuff. You're gonna see a significant drop off in your skills if you're not at least going to a trainer maybe once or twice a week. So let's say you're a freshman football player, and let's say Monday you have practice, Tuesday practice, Wednesday walkthrough, Thursday you play a game, Friday maybe you take off, Saturday, Sunday you should be working with some type of private coach to sharpen up your skills. I'm telling you this right now, you guys, don't be that guy that doesn't touch a ball other than at practice, because at practice you're actually getting less reps. Like, I'll give this from a quarterback perspective. As a quarterback, you're working out. Like, let's say you're just throwing to like 3 receivers. You're probably throwing like 50 to 100 reps. At practice, you may not be getting 50 to 100 reps because you have run plays, you're on a time schedule, and then you have walkthrough days, or maybe you don't throw a ball, then during a game, you're maybe only throwing, what, 25 passes? So you're not getting as many reps in. So guys, you need to make sure that you're not neglecting training during the actual season. Now, mistake number 8 that athletes will make is not playing special teams or other positions. We get a million questions like, hey coach, it's my first year playing football. What position should I play? I'm XYZ height, XYZ weight. You just play as many positions as possible, with the exception of some positions like quarterback, or maybe a kicker, or like offensive line. You can't really play maybe a bunch of different positions. But let's say you're a skill position player, like a running back, a receiver, a DB. You should be playing offense, you should be playing defense, and you should be playing special teams. Because at the end of the day, like, let's say for example too, let's talk about this. Let's say maybe you're not starting as a receiver, but you could start on kickoff or kickoff return. Get on the freaking field, dude, because that's how coaches trust you. If they could trust you with a responsibility on special teams, they might trust you to throw you into the first team offense, or maybe give you some more reps and give you some more play time. So don't make that mistake of just specializing in one spot, especially if you're new to the game. Obviously, some positions are a little bit different, but you know who you are and you know who I'm talking to. Now, mistake number 9, if you're a first-time football player, is not doing the lonely work. So you're going gonna realize when you get to practice, there are certain areas of your game that you need to improve on that are very, very like minuscule. Like let's say, for example, you're a quarterback, and let's say you have like a really, really long release, right? So the only way to correct those types of problems is repetition. And that sometimes means doing very boring things over and over and over again. And usually the players who love those boring things and can do them over and over again are the ones who see the most improvement. But a lot of guys just think, oh, I'm gonna go play 7-on-7, I'm gonna do a practice at school, I'll work on it at school, I'll work on it during team periods. You don't have that kind of thought process in those environments, you guys. If you're at practice and you're doing like 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, you're not thinking about your form. You have to go back home and do the stuff outside of practice to work on those little areas of your game. Even if that's like knowing the playbook, you gotta go home and make note cards and test yourself and go over those things, because those are the types of players that see the most improvement. Now, mistake number 10 that I feel even football players that are not playing for their first season, but especially guys that are playing on their first season, is being a thermometer player. So if you're a thermometer player, what does that exactly mean? So think about it like this. You got a thermostat and a thermometer. So a thermostat, you set the temperature of the room. You want it to be 65, you turn it down and it goes to 65. A thermometer tells you what the temperature of the room is. So if you walk into an environment and you're a player, it's your first time, and you try to act like everybody else and just do the bare minimum that everybody else is doing, I don't think you'll ever really see success as a football player. Now, what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're in the gym, and let's say you guys have a workout written on the whiteboard or a workout given to you that you're supposed to do. And let's say it's 3 sets of 5, and everybody on the team is just doing 3 sets of 5. You want to be that guy that's doing 3 sets of 6. You want to be that guy that's pushing yourself a little bit, because that's how you can get ahead of your competition. Because if you're a first-time football player, you don't want to be that guy that just compares yourself. We already talked about this in this video. Don't compare yourself to people who've been playing for forever, but don't be that thermostat player, or don't be that thermometer player. Be a thermostat player. Set the tone, lead by example. You don't even necessarily need to lead by example, but do more. Don't just make yourself the average of the room.